like to welcome Justin Thomas here to the interview room at the Memorial Tournament presented by Workday. Justin, you're making your 11th start in this event. I guess let's just start with how special of a week is this each year on tour coming to Jack's Place?
Excuse me, yeah. It's I did not know it was my 11th time. That's kind of crazy, but yeah, we always know it's going to be a very difficult test, and it always has an unbelievable field, and yeah, to get excited. I think it's kind of a good middle of the season, if you will, of I feel like our season comes and goes in waves, and for me, it's I think also a great opportunity to obviously try to get in contention, try to win a golf tournament. But I think it's going to, in ways, play a little similar to Oakmont in a couple weeks. So I think it's good preparation for a U.S. Open as well.
You mentioned difficult tests this week. What are some of the specific challenges that Muirfield Village presents?
Yeah, pretty much all of it. But the greens are obviously the weather yesterday and today or overnight softened it up a little bit, but they're still firm enough to be difficult. But the rough is it's always long, but I've never seen it this long, so that's going to be quite a challenge. Just a tough golf course. I think it'd be tough if it didn't have firm greens and long rough, but it has both of those, so that makes it very tough.
All right, we'll open up some questions. If you raise your hand, we can get a microphone to you. We can start right here on the right.
Justin, because you mentioned Oakmont, are you going to go in early? What are your remembrances from 16? And a third part of that, what's your opinion of 250-yard plus par threes?
I actually went to Oakmont yesterday. I got in Monday. Generally, this place doesn't change very much. I think that it's, the years I haven't played well year, I don't think it's necessarily from a lack of course knowledge. It's more of an execution standpoint, and practice rounds and and especially U.S. Opens have gotten pretty long and can be a little difficult to get all the work done that week. So I felt like it was a better use of my time. And Rev and I just took a day trip, just went and played it yesterday. It's still tough. I'd say all the rumors and everything are pretty on point, and I couldn't tell you a par three over 250 yards. That's good, I would say, architecturally. I think obviously you have 16 at Cypress Point is pretty special, but I definitely think there's some potential viewing reasons that makes it a great hole. So I'm a big short par three guy. I think a lot of us and a lot of players and people that watch golf are. That's my opinion.
Did you tee it up from the back on 8 at 299? I
did. That's not my favorite hole in the world. I think you could do some other things with that, but everyone's going to have to play the same hole and going to have to execute the same shots, and I would love 4 threes on it right now if I could take it.
Could you take us through today what it was like getting to play with Coach Saban, Coach Day, and was this your first time meeting Coach Day? Had you met him before?
It was. I actually joked with Coach Saban coming up 18. I was like, man, I hate to say this, but Coach Day's really, really good dude, and I hate that I'm going to maybe have to root for Ohio State a little bit because of how nice of a guy he was. But it was awesome. I mean, any time I can get with Coach Saban is I enjoy. I just love talking to him, and he's always been so unbelievably nice and supportive to my family and myself, and a lot of other players as well at Alabama. But just the nerd in me really wanted to, I was able to kind of talk football a little bit or ask questions between them two and myself, and that was pretty cool. I know that that's probably the last thing they want to talk about, but it's pretty awesome, seeing two greats just out there and hanging, and it was really fun.
Yeah, what was it like kind of watching them interact? And, they joked about having a lot to talk about before the round. Did you guys get all the answers to college football settled in that round?
Yeah, for sure. No. Yeah, they obviously they had a lot of fans out there. It was coming off a great year for Coach Day, and I think that they've obviously become closer and friendlier over the past couple of years. And it was. Those are two people I think you more sit back and listen than you do try to lead any conversation. So it just was fun to do that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a mental test this week. Oakmont will be a mental test. Every tournament's a mental test. I'm just curious, mental versus physical. What's more challenging, you think? What's tougher to master?
It's a good question, and I think it's different for everybody, as wild as it is, and I think it's different in different times. I think that this part of the season can get pretty busy and hectic, and I think it becomes more difficult to be sharp mentally. But that's not the case for everybody. I think some guys are maybe in a little bit more of a groove mentally or physically or whatever it may be. And man, it's hard to say if you could choose to be 100% at one. What would it be? Because it is, especially at a major championship or at a U.S. Open like Oakmont. But I'd like to think my 100% physical would produce some pretty good mental as well. But is it the chicken or the egg? You never know. But you just hope that they're both as high as possible.
And Bud Cauley got in this week, which is great. And I know you guys are close. I think he missed 3 years after the incident here. How happy are you for him to be here? And do you remember back to 2018, what that was like, how traumatic that was? Just take us through that and how far he's come.
Yeah, I'm so excited for him. He's so good and so talented, and he's got one of those games that can just play out here for so long and can win out here. And I think he's showing that this year. And he's just putting himself there more and more, which I think, for him has probably been the biggest hurdle, is that it has been a career full of injuries to where he hasn't consistently been able to do that, to feel comfortable to get it done when he gets there. And he's doing that this year. So I think it's just a matter of time, but he's playing great. And yeah, back to, the incident here was awful. I'm so happy he's not just playing again, but playing well, because it's, he's one of my best friends in the world, and it was a terrible, terrible night and week. And really a couple of years, just because he didn't know what was going to happen. I'm just glad he's back.
He actually teed 9 the next year, but then he had some setbacks. And I just remember it shook you pretty good when it happened, even your play here, I think you said at the time.
For sure. I mean, it was just like doctor could figure out what it was, and it was all kind of stemming from the accident and the surgery in his ribs. And that's obviously hard when you feel like you're doing everything you can but not getting anything out of it. And but yeah, he's shown a lot of resiliency. I mean, I think it's he's got an unbelievable wife and Christy, and now 2 kids that I'm sure are kept him sane during those times as much as possible. So them and all of us out here are happy that he's doing well.
Okay, stay on the right side.
Justin, could you give your scouting report or assessment of Ryan Day's golf game? And do you get a sense of just how hyper-competitive he is, even for something like this?
Yeah, he impressed me for what he said beforehand. He's like, I've never done one of these, and he's like, I'm going to be nervous and everything. And it's like, well, this isn't what you do, so it's not something you should be really comfortable in. But he had a lot of really good shots. He definitely struck me as somebody, if he gave it some time and some practice, that he really could be a solid player. But he just he hit some bad ones, but he hit enough like solid ones and kind of hit the shots that were required that you don't just do by accident type thing. But I don't think he's got any time for picking up a hobby anytime soon.
And was there anything about your conversation with him that stood out to you?
He just was he seemed very genuine. He just was, I told him on 18, it was after we kind of exchanged and said nice meeting each other, hanging out, I said, I respect anybody who's able to be successful in what they do, and obviously being a college football fan and the hard work and I always think it's so impressive to me that Coach Saban, but all these coaches, how they're able to get 18, 19, 20-year-old kids to be disciplined and listen in college. I mean, college is the most fun time of your life, and especially now with NIL and everything, you got a lot of distractions and a lot of things that can get you off path. And I think I just admire anybody who's able to kind of lead a group like that, and he's done that.
All right, we'll go to the back.
Hey, JT. I was just wondering if you could talk me through your approach to the third tee shot out here, and specifically when you might consider going down the other fairway on the left, like I believe you have done a couple times in the past.
I just did that 1 year, yeah, and I think Jack got wind of it, and it's some of the longest rough in Ohio, I think. So that was a one year wonder, and I just think with how the green is now, it's always kind of been, I don't know, I guess you could kind of say like peanut shaped, if you will, but it's like the back of that peanut has gotten very, very, very skinny now. So it's a tee shot that's kind of, it's very bland in front of you, but because of that, I hadn't necessarily hit it well. So if you, with how the rough is here, if you miss the fairway, you're laying up essentially. But even if you don't get a great number to those back pins, like you can, when the greens get firm, you can hit a pretty good shot that can one hop in the back bunker, can go over the green. It just is in a tough spot. So I felt like the year that I did that, if I just hit a driver basically at 4T, just hit it up in the rough there, I could always advance it to kind of the front of the green to where I'd have either a chip or a two putt. And if I was able to have a lie or a clear shot, then I was just chipping right up the green. But yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. So
All right, get a few more.
Theory was good.
A few more. We'll go to Rex and then Alex.
JT, the U.S. Women's Open's at Erin Hills this week. You played well back there in 2017. What advice would you give for that golf course set up for a national championship?
Just hit it as far as you can, and high. I felt like it's. I was actually talking to Curtis Thompson a little. He's caddying for Lexi, and he texted me a couple weeks ago asking about it, and he said the same things. Like, any advice? I'm like, just tell Lexi to be Lexi. Like, just send a driver. I mean, they're big fairways. It was very un-US Open like, in my opinion, at the golf course. It just with how the fairways were so big and some of the greens were big, but it just was, it was totally different look and setup. But it required, I felt like if it put driver in your hand, if you drove the ball well and further, at least for the tees and kind of distances were set up on some hole, you would have a huge advantage. So, somebody like Lexi who is on the longer side of, her competitors, it could be a big advantage. So I would look for, a longer hitter or girl that could, put a little more height under their irons to probably be successful.
Go ahead, Alex.
Justin, when Preston said this is your 11th, I think it was 11th Memorial, you were kind of surprised, which made me think about, have you thought about legacy at all?
And
meaning like what you want your legacy to be?
For sure. I want it to be a lot of things. I mean, I think first and foremost, the competitive side of me wants to have my name on as many trophies and record books and majors as possible. But I want to be somebody that kids are growing up idolizing and wanting to be a role model. I think that's, because I think when you are that person, I was looking back at, when I was growing up, you obviously have your favorite players, but it almost is like you need like the okay from your parents, if you will. Not, you know what I mean? Like they're going to steer you in a direction, which then they also, would want their kids to look up to or try to model themselves after. So, I think that's, you want to, you feel like you're doing things right or helping grow the game or helping, whether it be different cities that we're going to, all these different things that golf has the ability to reach that we're so lucky to. I just think that's a part of a legacy for myself that I would, take a lot of pride in, I'd say.
And one last thing, when you were in college, were you hard to rein into?
Pardon me?
Were you hard to rein in as a player when you were in college?
No. Yeah, golfers weren't quite as popular as the other sports, so it's and especially going to Alabama, where I didn't really have too many friends other than the golfers. Yeah, it was pretty right in front of us.
All right, last two, we'll go to Adam and then finish with MK.
Justin, if I remember correctly, part of the reason they went to the staggered start at the Tour Championship had to do with your feelings about not getting both trophies when you won the FedEx Cup. Have you been unfairly labeled as being a supporter of staggered start?
You're the first I've heard that's told me I'm a fan of it, so I'm not really sure how to answer that. I mean, there's no way that the tour would change an entire product or system based off of my belief. Not to my knowledge, at least, but yeah, that label is it's unheard of to me, so I'm not sure.
What do you feel? What are your feelings about the change that's coming for this season?
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's it's obviously something different and something new, which I think a lot of us players felt was needed, and we want to. All of us want to have the excitement. I mean, we want you guys to have the excitement, and the fans and us players to have the opportunity to go to the Tour Championship and win the FedEx Cup, and it's always been a big deal. But I think players are starting to just realize how much harder it is to get to the Tour Championship than maybe any of us realize, to where I think we're fully understanding and grasping that if you're at the Tour Championship and you're at that final event, then you have all the right in the world to walk away with the FedEx Cup. So I think that's something I know that I'm behind, and I think a lot of people are.
Do you feel 30 is the right number for that event?
I would, yeah. I mean, I guess I don't. I haven't really given it a lot of. I just don't know if how much you would have to change either way to make a difference to what it may be. So I mean, I think it's just something that's it's a thought and a talking process or whatever. But I don't. Yeah, I'm more focused on kind of what the excitement and the opportunity to kind of a winner take all this year.
Go ahead, MK.
JT, you mentioned that this is the longest the rough has ever been in your 11 years playing here. Is this the thickest rough that you've seen on tour this year?
Definitely. Yeah, it's very, very, very penal.
And when you, I guess, view it that way, does that change the way that you navigate and plan for this week specifically?
Definitely. I think it, pending the weather and if the fairways get firmer and faster, that will definitely change things of some clubs that we hit off tees. But the hard part is I don't want to say, there's a number of holes that are long enough to where you can't just step up on the tee and be like, all right, I just got to put it in the fairway. I think the days of kind of hitting a 2-iron around a course are gone because of how then firm the greens are and how small they are, whatever you want to call it. So, but it's an event, at least for me personally, that if I am between or if I'm not really sure, because there are some holes out here that give you options off the tee, that it is a fairway first kind of thing and picking your spots kind of week. It's not one where you're standing up on every single tee like I'm thinking birdie. I can birdie this hole, birdie the next hole. Sometimes it's what's the easiest way I can make par and sometimes bogey. So just kind of take what you can get.
Awesome. Thank you for the time, Justin.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Ball up.